It really makes you think. When you hear someone with the track record of Vinod Khosla suggesting that artificial intelligence will surpass human capabilities in pretty much everything,
Yeah.
and within this decade, that's not just some off-the-cuff remark.
No, absolutely not. This is coming from someone who's been right there, at the heart of tech innovation for decades.
Exactly. Co-founder of Sun Microsystems.
A major force at Kleiner Perkins back in the day.
And now Khosla Ventures, managing what, over $15 billion?
That's right. So when he talks about the future, about where the smart money is going, people listen. His perspective carries real weight.
Right. So in this deep dive, we're going to try and unpack some of that. We're pulling out the key investing lessons from his career, looking especially at the ideas in Khosla's Investing Lessons, a book. And the goal here is really to give you, the listener, a clear picture of his approach. How does he spot these companies, the ones that could genuinely reshape things?
Yeah, what are the principles driving those big bets?
It's exactly. What can we learn, whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, or just someone fascinated by where tech is heading?
And what's always stood out about Khosla, I think, is this relentless focus on ideas that seem, well, frankly, improbable.
Oh, improbable, yeah.
He's not really interested in just tweaking existing things, making them slightly better.
No incremental improvements.
Not really his game.
Yeah.
He operates with this deep understanding of how venture capital actually works, especially this thing called the power law.
Okay, the power law. Let's definitely dig into that.
Yeah.
It's fundamental to VC, but I think it runs counter to how a lot of people intuitively think about returns, right?
It really does. Think about something common like shoe sizes in a big crowd.
Cool.
Most people will cluster around the average size, right? A few with tiny feet, a few with huge feet, but most are in the middle. It's like a bell curve.
Yeah, a normal distribution.
Exactly. Venture capital returns, they don't look like that at all. They follow what's called a power law distribution.
Which means?
It means that a tiny number of your investments, just one or two, maybe end up generating almost all the profit for the entire fund.
Wow.
Yeah. So you might have, say, 10 investments. 7 or 8 could return very little, maybe even fail completely. One might do okay, decent, but then 1 or 2 just explode. Massive successes, and the returns from those completely dwarf everything else combined.
So it's not about getting a hit every time. It's about swinging for the fences, looking for that grand slam.
That's the core idea, and it explains that famous Khosla quote.
The one about improbable ideas.
Yeah. Most people think improbable ideas are unimportant, but the only thing that's important is something that's improbable. He's laser focused on those potential outliers.
Because that's where the power law returns come from.
Precisely. His strategy isn't about playing it safe, trying to make sure every single bet pays off a little.
No.
It's about embracing the fact that most might fail.
Okay.
In the hunt for those truly game-changing black swan ventures, those ideas that seem like long shots, maybe even impossible. But if they work, they create entirely new markets or just completely upend existing ones. That's where the exponential returns live.
Can you give us some concrete examples?
Yeah.
Like investments Khosla Ventures made that really show this kind of improbable thinking?
Absolutely. Impossible Foods is a classic one.
Plant-based meat.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of making plants taste and feel exactly like beef, back then, that seemed incredibly ambitious, almost fantastical to many.
Right. Most people were just focused on better veggie burgers, maybe.
Exactly. Incremental stuff. But Khosla Ventures saw the potential to disrupt the entire global meat industry. Huge market, massive environmental implications. That was an improbable bet.
Okay, what else?
Then there's Rocket Lab. For ages, space was just governments and giant aerospace companies. Huge costs, long timelines.
Yeah, NASA, Boeing.
Right. Rocket Lab came along wanting to launch small satellites, frequently, affordably, democratizing space access. That was a very different, very improbable approach compared to the incumbents.
Making space launches almost routine.
Kind of, yeah. And another great example is QuantumScape. Solid-state batteries.
For electric cars.
Yeah, a notoriously difficult technological problem. Lots of companies had tried and failed, investing heavily there, trying to crack that fundamental energy storage challenge. Again, super high risk, technically improbable, but with potential to totally revolutionize EVs.
So it really highlights this willingness to stomach a lot of risk. They're not shying away from ideas that others might just dismiss out of hand.
Not at all. Because the math of the power law tells you that one single outlier success can more than make up for all the investments that don't work out. The goal isn't just positive ROI across the board.
Exponential value.
Exactly. Exponential value from those rare transformative companies. That's what defines success for a fund like theirs.
Okay, so the improbable idea is crucial. But shifting gears a bit, Khosla talks a lot about the people.
Oh, absolutely.
That, quote, a company becomes the people it hires, not the plan it makes. That really stands out. It suggests the team trumps the initial business plan.
It's a cornerstone of his philosophy. He knows that in the startup world, things change constantly.
Right, the market shifts, the technology evolves.
Exactly, that initial business plan.
Right.
It's almost guaranteed to change, sometimes dramatically. So what matters most isn't the perfection of that initial document.
It's the team's ability to adapt.
Precisely. Their resilience, their learning speed, their raw talent, those are the things that determine if the company can navigate the inevitable bumps and pivots. The initial vision gets you started, attracts talent, sure, but it's the people who actually execute, learn, adapt, maybe even throw out the old plan and create a new one.
So, evaluating a team, that sounds way harder, more qualitative than just analyzing market data. How do they do it? What are they looking for in founders?
It's definitely more art than science, but there are key traits they hunt for. One is this interesting balance.
Okay.
Obstinance about the core vision, the big goal.
Right, sticking to the mission.
But at the same time, extreme flexibility in how they get there, in the tactics. They want founders who are anchored to the why, but totally willing to change the how based on feedback and reality.
Stubborn vision, flexible tactics. Got it.
And another thing, absolutely critical, is the ability to learn incredibly fast and to constantly question their own assumptions.
Faster than being an expert already.
Yeah, Khosla has said exactly that. I have found that the person who learns faster is way better at building businesses than the person who is a deep expert.
That's counterintuitive for some.
It can be, but think about it in brand new fields with rapidly changing tech. That deep expertise can actually become obsolete quickly, or worse, it can make you resistant to new approaches.
Right, stuck in the old ways.
Whereas someone who learns fast, who questions everything, they can adapt and figure things out as they go.
You mentioned examples like Uber, Airbnb, and Instacart founders, often outsiders to the industries they disrupted.
Exactly. They didn't come in with decades of, say, taxi or hotel or grocery experience. They came in with fresh eyes, thinking from first principles. They weren't bound by how things are always done. They experimented, they learned, they adapted relentlessly.
So Khosla's team is watching how founders think, how quickly they evolve.
Very closely, even over short periods. Are they seeking out criticism? Are they changing their minds when the data points another way? That learning agility in the face of all that uncertainty is a much better predictor of success than just knowing a lot about an industry today.
And it's not just the founder in isolation, right? It's the early team they build around them.
Absolutely critical. Those first few hires, they set the company's DNA.
The culture, the standards.
Everything. They determine who you can attract later. Khosla looks for founders who understand this, who deliberately build teams where it's okay to disagree, to challenge ideas respectfully.
Constructive conflict.
Yes, that intellectual friction is vital. It stress tests assumption that leads to better decisions. So the focus shifts, you see. It moves away from just looking at the static business plan towards assessing the dynamic capabilities of the team, the people who will actually rewrite that plan multiple times on the journey.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, Khosla Ventures often invests in really tough, complex tech challenges. They seem okay with technology risk, maybe more than market risk. Can you unpack that difference?
Sure. So technology risk is basically the uncertainty around whether the core tech itself will work. Can you actually build it? Can you make it scale? Will the science pan out?
The engineering hurdles.
Right. Market risk, on the other hand, is about demand. Even if you build it, will anyone actually buy it? Is there a big enough market?
Okay.
Khosla Ventures definitely shows a preference for taking on big technology risks, especially when solving that tech problem could create a whole new market or completely disrupt an old one.
Which fits with the Black Swan idea again.
Exactly. The thinking is, if the technology is truly groundbreaking, it can often create its own market. The demand follows the innovation.
But taking on huge tech risk sounds, well, risky. How do they manage that without just throwing money away?
Yeah, it's not about being reckless. That's where pragmatic de-risking comes in.
Pragmatic de-risking.
Okay. So yes, they embrace the tech unknown, but they work incredibly hard first to identify what the absolute key technical hurdles are, what needs to be proven for this whole thing to even be possible.
Nail down the core challenges.
Right. And then They work with the team to figure out the quickest, cheapest way to test those specific things early on.
The fail fast, fail cheap idea.
Exactly. Khosla put it bluntly. It is more advantageous to all parties to fail in 6 months on $75,000 than in 6 years and 75 malars. We want to focus on the key risks early.
Get the tough answers quickly before burning through tons of cash and time.
That's the goal. So they tend to favor ventures where you can get meaningful results, run experiments, and learn quickly. Short innovation cycles.
So an idea needing like $100 million in 5 years just for the first proof point, probably not their thing.
Generally, no. They want those rapid learning loops. Get data, get proof points, could be positive, could be negative. Either way, it informs the next decision about investing more resources.
Makes sense.
And this really fits with disruptive tech, right? Because often in the early days, there isn't a clear market you can go test.
Right, you're creating it.
Yeah. So validating customer demand is hard. But validating the technical feasibility, can we actually build this crazy thing, that's often more concrete and actionable early on?
Okay. Now, another term you hear associated with Khosla Ventures is venture assistance. It sounds like they do more than just write checks.
Oh, much more. Venture assistance is absolutely core to how they operate.
So what does it mean practically?
It means recognizing that founders tackling these huge, complex problems need more than just capital. They need real hands-on help, strategic guidance, often from people who've actually been in the trenches themselves.
Not just board meetings and networking intros.
Right. Khosla contrasts it with some traditional VC models where involvement might be lighter. Maybe advice comes from folks without direct operating or deep tech experience.
So KV aims for a deeper partnership.
Much deeper. They want to be involved in the company building. Their team isn't just finance people. It's packed with former entrepreneurs, people with PhDs, MDs, deep technical backgrounds.
Wow.
Plus a dedicated platform team, experienced operators. They provide tangible support across the board.
Like what?
Everything from helping shape strategy, refining fundraising decks, product road mapping, branding, even help with writing patents or recruiting key executives.
So real operational help.
Yeah, making introductions to partners, customers, later investors, helping navigate huge decisions, even mediating founder conflicts sometimes. They have operating partners who specialize in coaching founders on leadership, AI, design, manufacturing, finance, legal, you name it.
But is it help or is it meddling? Where's the line?
That's a fair question. The goal is definitely facilitation, not micromanagement. They see themselves as advisors helping founders see around corners, leveraging their own experiences.
Sharing pattern recognition.
Exactly. Now, Khosla himself is known for pushing teams hard, challenging assumptions, confronting difficult truths.
Right.
But he also strongly believes in backing the team's final call. He said he almost never votes against management's decision, unless maybe it's about changing the CEO. The team's conviction has to drive it.
So tough love, but ultimately empowering the founders.
That seems to be the balance they strive for. And founders seem to value it. KV consistently ranks very high in founder surveys, like Founder's Choice.
And this intense support must help offset some of that high technology risk they take on.
Absolutely. Embedding that operational expertise, that strategic guidance directly into the companies is a key way they try to increase the odds of success for these really ambitious high-risk ventures. It's more than just money, it's active partnership.
Another thing that really jumps out is the sheer ambition. They're explicitly aiming for billion-dollar companies.
Yes, that's a defining filter for them. They are absolutely focused on ventures with a credible path to becoming worth $1 billion, or, ideally, much more.
So no small niche plays, even if the return looks good on paper.
Generally, no. Even if an investment looks like it could generate a solid IRR, if the ultimate market size or impact is limited, it's likely not for them.
Because,
As Khosla says, they're not looking for good ROI. We are looking to build companies. In our view, ROI follows company building. And building truly significant companies usually means tackling huge markets.
either disrupting massive existing ones,
Or creating entirely new massive ones through breakthrough innovation. That's the scale they're targeting.
and this focus on massive scale seems really tied to wanting to have a big impact on the world, too. It's not just about the valuation.
That's very true. There's a strong underlying belief in Khosla's philosophy that capitalism, when channeled towards innovation, is the most powerful tool we have for driving positive social and environmental change.
More powerful than nonprofits, even.
For tackling really big global problems, he argues yes. because business inherently focuses on scaling solutions, making them economically viable, reaching huge numbers of people. Nonprofits are vital, but sometimes struggle to achieve that massive scale needed for things like climate change or transforming global food systems.
And you see this in their portfolio.
Clearly, Impossible Foods not just a better burger, but aiming to fundamentally change agriculture's footprint.
Yeah.
Their whole clean tech portfolio, alternative energy, sustainable materials like 3D printed buildings, LanzaTech turning pollution into product.
QuantumScape batteries.
Exactly. All aimed at huge environmental challenges, needing massive scale to make a difference. And their AI for abundance theme, too.
What's that about?
Using AI to democratize expertise, making high-quality healthcare, education, other services accessible to vastly more people. Again, thinking about impact on a planetary scale.
So Khosla really pushes founders to think bigger.
Definitely. He famously backed Pat Brown at Impossible Foods right after meeting him, largely because the vision was so audacious, reinventing meat entirely.
Wow.
That focus on massive impact acts as a filter, because the biggest global problems, climate, food, health, energy, are the biggest potential markets if you can crack them.
So the impact goal and the financial goal align.
Exactly. Tackling those grand challenges naturally leads you to the kind of market-creating billion-dollar opportunities that fit the power law model they rely on. Think AI replacing experts or Impossible Foods tackling land use. Those are potentially trillion-dollar shifts.
Okay, looking ahead, Khosla Ventures has made some really big, sometimes contrarian bets on specific technologies. AI and Cleantech stand out. Let's talk AI first. Their view seems pretty revolutionary.
Revolutionary is a good word for it. Khosla sees AI not just as another tool, but as a fundamental paradigm shift. A different beast, as he calls it.
Changing everything.
Pretty much, yeah. He has that striking prediction. AI doing virtually every job better than humans by 2030.
Which, if true, changes
Yeah.
everything. Work, education, society.
Profoundly. And they've put their money where their mouth is. Heavy investment in companies building AI replacements for human experts.
In what fields?
Primary care doctors, mental health therapists, cardiologists, engineers, salespeople, accountants, across the board.
Trying to automate expertise.
Essentially, yes. And look at their OpenAI investment. $50 million way back in 2019.
Before ChatGPT was a household name.
Long before. That shows real conviction, betting big and early on a thesis, even with timing uncertainty. He knew an inflection point was coming for AI.
And he's still bullish, despite all the hype now. Not worried about saturation.
Seems not. He dismisses those concerns mostly. He also talks about the potential for AI scientists.
AI doing science.
Yeah, accelerating discovery in biology, materials science, areas like that.
No.
Dramatically speeding up R&D.
It's a very optimistic vision, but he does acknowledge downsides, right? And he talks about geopolitics, too.
Absolutely. He's clear-eyed about potential disruptions, job losses, inequality getting worse. But his focus isn't on stopping AI. It's on society adapting, using policy to manage the transition well. And geopolitically, he frames it starkly.
How so?
He argues it's critical for the U.S. and its democratic allies to lead in AI, to set the standards.
Why?
To prevent authoritarian regimes, specifically citing China, from using AI dominance for control, suppression, and projecting power globally. It's a race with high stakes, in his view.
Okay, now shifting to clean tech and sustainability, they were early players there too, weren't they?
They're very early, very prominent, driven initially by beliefs about resource scarcity and the need for innovation.
And they're still active.
Absolutely. Still investing across the board, alternative energy, food tech like Impossible, next-gen batteries like QuantumScape, sustainable materials, carbon utilization like LanzaTech, aiming for that post-pollution world.
Even though that first clean tech wave had some high-profile busts.
Right. The industry learned some hard lessons back then. But KV's strategy embracing the tech risk, providing that deep venture assistance, seems almost tailor-made for the challenges of hard tech, capital-intensive clean tech solutions.
Their support helps weather the storms.
Seems so. Found testimonials often mention KV sticking by them through tough times. And you have to assume they learned from the first boom, too, about interest rate sensitivity, policy shifts, competition. That likely informs their strategy today.
So whether it's AI or clean tech, The pattern seems to be making these big conviction-based bets on the future often way before it's obvious to everyone else.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's not about market timing or following the herd. It's about developing these deep theses about where technology is heading long term. And then having the courage to invest significantly based on that conviction, even when there's lots of uncertainty. That willingness to bet on transformative potential, even when it seems premature, that's really key to their whole approach.
And underpinning all of this, all these lessons, seems to be this core belief system, this principled techno-optimism. What exactly is that?
Yeah, that's the bedrock, really. It's this fundamental belief that technological innovation is the main driver of human progress.
Technology solves problems,
Yeah.
creates abundance.
Exactly. It helps us overcome limitations like resource constraints. And central to this is the idea that capitalism is the best engine we have for scaling up these beneficial innovations.
Better than other models for big problems.
He argues yes, because of its focus on efficiency, scalability, reaching the masses. And his vision for an AI-driven future is incredibly optimistic in this vein.
Yeah.
He sees massive productivity gains, huge wealth creation, potentially leading to something like universal basic income. He's talked about GDP growth potentially jumping from 2% to 5% annually. He believes this could free humanity from servitude jobs we do just to survive.
Allowing more people to pursue passion projects, creativity.
That's the vision. A future of greater abundance and freedom.
But we keep coming back to this. It's principled optimism, not blind faith.
Absolutely crucial distinction. He's not ignoring the downsides. He explicitly talks about massive job displacement, worsening inequality.
Right, and the challenges are real.
Yes. So the optimism is conditional. It depends on us as societies making smart choices, implementing well-reasoned policy, especially in democracies, to navigate the transition.
Technology isn't a magic wand.
No, it doesn't automatically solve wealth distribution, job losses, or ethical AI dilemmas. His vision relies on governments and society adapting, creating frameworks to harness the good and mitigate the bad.
So technology provides the potential, but society has to manage it wisely.
That's it, exactly. And in many ways, his writing and investing act as a kind of call to entrepreneurs.
To be the agents of that progress.
Yes, to step up, use these powerful new tools, and build the solutions that move humanity forward responsibly.
So if we try to wrap this all up, Vinod Khosla's investment philosophy really comes down to being audacious.
Audacious, definitely. Conviction-driven.
Taking the long view.
Very long view. And always focused on backing companies tackling the world's biggest problems, aiming for transformative change.
It's quite a coherent picture when you put all the pieces together.
It is. We've covered those 7 key lessons, really. Seek the improbable, the power law, the black swans.
Right. Prioritize founders betting on people who can learn and adapt.
Embrace technology risk, but de-risk pragmatically. Fail fast, fail cheap.
Provide genuine venture assistance more than just money.
Aim for planetary impact, building those billion-dollar companies, addressing huge challenges.
Invest in the future, those big conviction bets on tech waves like AI and Cleantech.
And underlying it all, that principled techno-optimism using capitalism and innovation to drive towards abundance, but managing the transition wisely.
And it all connects back to that instigator thesis, doesn't it?
Perfectly. The idea that it's these bold entrepreneurs, the instigators tackling the really big problems, who drive disproportionate progress. Khosla Ventures is basically built to find and back those instigators.
It really makes you think. So a final thought for you, our listener, as you process all this. Reflecting on Khosla's principles, what ideas in your own world, your job, your field, your life seem improbable right now, but might actually hold the seeds of transformative change.
And how could that concept of venture assistance, that deep supportive partnership model, inspire new ways you approach collaboration, mentorship, or fostering innovation around you?
Some powerful things to consider.
Definitely.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into Vinod Khosla's investing lessons. It's been fascinating.